Hey everybody, welcome back. Let's try to do an easy job today and replace the valve cover gaskets on the small block Chevy. Alright, so hoping for something simple today. We're going to pull the rocker covers off and replace the valve cover gaskets. While we're there, we'll just put the finger on each of the rockers and check for lash and make sure nothing's loose or anything like that. And we'll get this swapped over. I had some oil leak, back here on the edges of the valve covers, and these are the Felpro, that number VS50088R. Really cheap on Amazon or Summit Racing, wherever you want to get them. And let's open this up and see what they look like. Now, before getting too far into this, the first thing you want to do is make sure that around the valve cover and the valve cover itself is pretty clean, so you have as little chance of getting debris down into the head as possible. So we'll just go ahead and wipe that down a little bit, try to get some of the dust out of there. All you need for this job is a ratchet, 3/8 socket, and on these later Vortecs, this is 4 center bolts, and that's all there is to it to pop it off. And that's it right there. That's all there is to it, to popping off the valve cover. Set that aside. Now on the valve cover gasket here, this stayed on the head, which is fine. You see down here, maybe, the oil kind of pools up right here and was dripping down. Also, with the angle of the motors facing down, oil will definitely stay right in here as well. And those are the ports where it typically would drain back down into the pan. Yes, actually looking at it closer, because these motors are on an angle, that hole there is where all the oil actually will most likely drain back into. You might have some splash into these other holes, but the way this sits, oil definitely will pool up in this corner and fill up before it manages to go back down there. So I'm not too surprised you'll get some leakage around here, especially with these motors tilted back, 8-10 degrees. All right, so pulling this gasket off is really straightforward. It just comes right off the head. And I'm pretty sure this is an original gasket because they painted the motor with it. So, it lived a good life. And it's really not in bad shape, but can't hurt to freshen it up, especially for how cheap these are. GM 5.7 5.0. This is the center bolt style Vortec. Pull one of these out. Then on the head, let's do the right thing and kind of clean this up. Now, fortunately, this was very, very clean. No sludge or anything like that. These motors only have about 430 hours on them. Change oil very regularly, and very, very clean. So what I want to do is put the valve cover gasket on the valve cover. So it kind of will sit down in there and has these little, nubs to help kind of keep it sitting in the slot for it. put that where it's supposed to go here. It should fit really easy, just a little bit of force to get it to sit down in there. And these little, I said nubs, whatever you want to call them, hold the gasket on the valve cover here. Something I like about these Felpros versus the old one is they actually have some, so these are just flat on both sides, where this has a couple ridges here which should help seal it up as well. Go ahead and start with a disclaimer on this. I'm not sure if this is the correct way to do anything, but I usually just check to make sure there's just a little bit of resistance to turning the push rods. So this valve is under tension right now, so I can't spin that. You see it's pushed down. Good tension, so you just be able to spin it with fingers, and nothing, you know, nothing feels loose. It's about the same. And I don't have any rattling or tapping or anything like that. It's just kind of a visual check. After you have the valve cover gasket seated onto the valve cover itself, reinstall. So it should stay in there, but reinstallation, straightforward. It just goes right back where it was. Then you got bolts. Might have to wiggle the valve cover around to get it to start. Start to meet all by hand there. And what I've done in the past, you kind of want to start from the center. So I'll get all those just snug by hand. To where it just has some resistance. Go back and do it again with a little bit more force. Then take the ratchet. Bring it closer to show you. Don't put much of any force on this. So you can even hold the ratchet by the head here, do a couple clicks, and do that to all four. Really, that's all there is to it. Just want to snug them up and all be even there. Alright, so that's pretty much all there is to it, to do in the valve cover gaskets on a small block Chevy. Not to do this 3 more times because there's 2 engines and 2 heads per engine. It's a V8, which I'm sure if you're watching this video you already know that. But appreciate y'all watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what I did wrong. That's always fun. I appreciate that, for real. And I'll see you on the next video.